Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're stepping right out onto the asphalt to look at the incredibly high-stakes world of heavy-duty vehicle recovery. We're going to be focusing on the Interstate 35 corridor in Schertz, Texas. It's this crazy spot where daily commuter traffic just collides with heavy interstate commerce.
Okay, let's dive right into this, because there's a massive misconception we need to clear up right out of the gate. When you picture a tow truck clearing an accident, what do you see? Do you just imagine a guy hooking a rusty chain to a bumper, throwing his truck into drive and kind of dragging a crushed car away? Well, if you do, you are missing out on an incredibly exact, highly mathematical science. Clearing a major accident, it's never just a simple matter of dragging a car away. It is literally an operation of precision engineering.
So, let's start with Phase 1, the I-35 danger zone, and the arrival.
Let's set the scene here. Out on a high-speed artery like I-35, you've got a constant mix of massive semi-trucks sharing the lanes with family SUVs. Throw in unpredictable Texas weather, sudden traffic slowdowns, maybe some heavy rain, and wow, you have a recipe for chaos. Because of this, the actual rescue starts long before anyone even arrives at the crash site. It begins at dispatch. The operators there have to gather crucial, split-second data, like what types of vehicles are involved, what are their current resting positions, how's the traffic flowing right now. This info is absolutely vital because it dictates exactly what type of machinery gets deployed, whether they need a standard flatbed or a massive heavy-duty commercial wrecker.
And when that crew finally does arrive, the very first goal, it isn't towing at all, it's survival. The high speeds on Schertz roadways present a massive danger to anyone standing outside a vehicle. So wrecker operators strategically position these heavily armored trucks to serve as giant barricades. They use their flashing light bars to essentially force approaching drivers into adjacent lanes. They're securing the perimeter to protect the police, the paramedics, and of course the victims. Scene stabilization absolutely always comes first.
Moving on to Phase 2, the heavy-duty hardware. Once the area is locked down and secure, the technical assessment begins, especially for mechanically complex scenarios, like a vehicle rollover. See, when a vehicle rests on its roof, its center of gravity is completely altered. And that's exactly where this fascinating, highly specialized gear comes into play. Meet the rotator truck. These are massive, incredible machines that feature a crane-like boom capable of rotating a full 360 degrees. Professional crews use these booms to do the impossible. They lift heavy commercial vehicles straight up into the air and pivot them safely back onto their wheels. Without this tech, trying to drag a rolled vehicle upright would just crush the roof pillars and shatter every remaining window. It'd be a mess.
But, what if the situation is incredibly delicate? Say we're looking at a fully loaded semi-trailer where the cargo inside might shift violently and cause a whole secondary disaster. Enter air cushion recovery systems. Operators slide these heavy-duty inflatable bags right beneath the wreckage. As they fill with air, they provide the ultimate gentle push, evenly righting the vehicle without creating any jarring motions whatsoever. It's seriously clever stuff.
The crucial point here is that modern recovery completely leaves behind the destructive tools of the past. Forget the old steel chains that just crush delicate body panels. Operators today use heavy-duty nylon slings, metal spreader bars, synthetic winch lines, and snatch blocks. These specific tools distribute the lifting force perfectly evenly across the entire frame of the car, totally protecting the vehicle's structural integrity.
All right, Phase 3, the scale of operations. So the recovery methodology completely changes depending on the sheer size and weight of what's actually sitting broken on the highway. If you've got a family minivan resting in a ditch off FM 3209, operators are going to execute a careful but relatively straightforward winch operation. But if you're dealing with a fully loaded concrete mixer or an 18-wheeler rollover on I-35, oh boy, that requires a massive, multi-record tandem effort.
For those giant commercial wrecks, the process is incredibly meticulous. Crews often have to physically uncouple the trailer from the cab, unload the interior cargo by hand, and then lift each of these massive pieces individually. Why go through all that trouble? Well, if they tried to move it all at once, they'd completely overload the hydraulic booms of the wrecker trucks. It's basically a slow, highly strategic deconstruction of a disaster scene.
Next up is Phase 4, the physics of extraction.
This phase is strictly governed by exacting science and strict mathematical calculations. Actually, I want to read this quote directly from the source material for you because it perfectly captures the incredibly high stakes of the extraction phase. Quote, "Poorly executed extraction methods can cause catastrophic secondary damage that turns a repairable vehicle into a total loss." End quote.
That is a massive deal. A bad tow can literally ruin a car that was otherwise perfectly fixable. No pressure, right?
Think about it. If an amateur operator just haphazardly hooks a heavy steel chain around a suspension arm to pull a car out of a ditch, the mechanical failures are severe. That immense tension bends the axle, it rips the tie rods, it completely destroys the steering geometry. Modern vehicles are built with unibody frames and crumple zones that are specifically designed to absorb impacts from certain angles. Pulling from the wrong section can warp the entire chassis forever.
In contrast, the professional approach treats the vehicle like a fragile puzzle. Operators locate very specific, factory-designated tie-down points on the undercarriage before any tension is ever applied. And if the wheels are locked or broken, they don't just drag the car, they actually place specialized skates under the tires. This completely removes the friction between the tires and the asphalt, letting them slide the vehicle smoothly onto a flatbed while perfectly protecting the transmission gears and drivetrain from grinding. Smooth as silk.
Let's look at Phase 5, expected recovery timelines.
So let's talk practical logistics here. How long do these intense operations actually take to clear the highway and restore commerce? Because as we all know, a closed interstate impacts thousands of lives. Let's break down the data. A standard highway collision, say a minor two-car accident, has a moderate complexity. With a flatbed, that lane is usually cleared in about 30 to 60 minutes. Not too bad. But scale that up to a passenger vehicle rollover using a boom wrecker. Now you're looking at 1 to 2 hours of high-complexity work. And an extreme, heavy commercial wreck utilizing those rotator wreckers and air cushions we talked about, that can shut down an area for 2 to 5 hours. Yeah, you heard that right. Up to 5 hours of coordinated engineering just to reopen the road. Finally, Phase 6, after a severe collision.
I want to pivot directly to you for a moment with some potentially life-saving, actionable advice. If you ever find yourself in a high-speed accident on Schertz roadways and your vehicle is heavily damaged, but thankfully you're uninjured, do not immediately jump out. Assess your surroundings before you even unbuckle your seatbelt. If you're stuck in an active lane of traffic on I-35, you absolutely must stay inside your vehicle. Activate your hazard lights immediately. Stepping out onto the shoulder puts you at a severe risk of being struck by distracted drivers flying by at 70 miles per hour. Just wait inside until law enforcement and the record blockade arrive to establish a safe walking path. It's absolutely crucial. And remember, the professionals are going to handle the physics of the vehicle entirely. You should gather your insurance and belongings only after the perimeter is fully secured. Let the wrecker operators worry about the complex structural engineering of getting your car off the highway. You just focus on speaking with the first responders and contacting your family.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final thought. The next time you're stuck in traffic on I-35 and you slowly pass a massive highway recovery scene, what are you going to see? Will you just see a tow truck? Or will you see a high-stakes structural engineer calculating physics, managing multi-ton hydraulic booms, and utilizing air cushions to safely restore order out of chaos? It kind of changes how you perceive these heavy-duty wrecker operators forever, doesn't it? Thanks so much for joining me as we explore the incredible mechanics behind keeping our roadways clear.